Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a fascinating lecture today that lays out a completely sweeping, incredibly bold proposition for South Korea's future identity. We're talking about a vision that suggests the nation is literally on the verge of a massive transformation. Remaining strictly neutral here, we're going to map out the speaker's unique philosophy on how a country evolves from simply making physical goods to generating world-changing ideas.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever stopped and wondered what actually comes after a nation finishes building its economy? Once the skyscrapers are up, the physical infrastructure is fully laid out, and the factories are humming along, what's the next developmental step for a country? Well, this profound question is the absolute starting point for the lecture we're examining today. The speaker argues that South Korea is standing exactly at this historical crossroads, ready for a major post-industrial lead. Section 1. A Vision for the East. Rethinking the East Sea. The speaker's vision begins by totally reimagining the country geographically. They suggest that the East Sea, especially early in the year, when the energy of the East is supposedly at its strongest, should be viewed as an energetic birthplace for global planning, not just a scenic tourist spot. And this brilliantly illustrates a stark contrast in tourism models. Think about the old way. It's about selling bread, renting rooms, offering basic amusements, an approach that definitely hits a hard limit. The proposed new tourism, however, is purely intellectual. It's about building proper facilities to host global forums and share brand new paradigms. The argument here is that if people travel to quench their intellectual thirst, while paying for hotels and good food just happens naturally as a byproduct.
Section 2. From Manufacturing to Ideas, the New Economic Engine.
This shift in how we view tourism actually points to a much larger macroeconomic argument within the lecture. The focus completely shifts from exporting physical products to exporting intellectual paradigms. The lecture asserts that Korea absolutely must evolve past its old economic model. The speaker imparts the idea that Korea should stop defining its progress by asking how many more cars it can manufacture and sell to other countries just to make a living. Instead, this new economy is all about researching humanity itself and teaching those paradigms to the rest of the world. Having learned the foundational basics from nations like the US and Japan, the source argues Korea must now pivot its entire national engine toward teaching.
So, the crucial point is this new proposed national identity, the Global Institute for Humanity. The lecture essentially frames the entire Korean peninsula as one massive, unified think tank. The core idea presented is that South Korea's destiny is to research and solve the deep, fundamental societal problems that the rest of the world simply cannot figure out on its own.
Section 3. The Global Welfare Vaccine. Solving the Ultimate Puzzle.
So, what exactly is this giant global institute researching? Well, according to the source, welfare is the ultimate unsolved puzzle of the developed world. The lecture points out that even the most advanced, highly industrialized nations out there have completely failed to find a truly working paradigm for social welfare. It's basically the greatest homework assignment for humanity, a complex riddle that the entire international community is currently struggling to solve.
This striking medical metaphor captures the speaker's argument perfectly. If we create this new welfare paradigm and it cures our nation, it means the clinical trial is complete. The world will come to learn. It's like viewing South Korea as a giant clinical trial testing a new societal vaccine. If they can discover a cure for their own domestic social issues, they won't even need to persuade other nations to buy it. People will just naturally flock to the peninsula to learn the cure for themselves.
Section 4. The Era of Women. Healing the Nation's Side Effects. Now, to actually manufacture this societal vaccine, the speaking outlines a necessary sociological shift. And interestingly, the lecture focuses entirely on the changing roles of gender to make this transformation a reality. According to the source, the physical building of the nation, the muscle, the hardware, that rapid economic growth is historically attributed to men. But the speaker argues this intense physical growth created massive societal side effects, resulting in widespread pain and systemic issues. The crucial argument presented here is that healing these systemic issues is strictly the domain of women. The idea is that just as a mother tends to the pain inside a household, women are now tasked with healing the accumulated pain of the entire nation.
And this brings us to a specific term used prominently in the lecture, the women's era. The speaker defines this not just as a catchy buzzword, but as a mandatory societal shift. It represents a time when women must step out of the shadows, move way beyond traditional domestic duties, and actively lead the charge in welfare research to resolve the nation's pain. The assertion is that true societal healing literally cannot happen unless women take the absolute helm. However,
the speaker doesn't hold back on critiquing the current state of affairs. The lecture explicitly states that many elite women today are, frankly, misdirecting their energy. They're spending time on trivial pursuits like shopping or playing golf, rather than fulfilling this absolutely vital new national role. The speaker challenges these women to take true responsibility and focus their immense resources entirely on societal healing instead.
Section 5. A new social blueprint. Organizing for change.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual action plan. To execute this grand shift in the real world, the speaker outlines a precise 3-step hierarchy for collaboration. First, elite women are meant to gather their influence and resources to provide overarching support and backing. Second, the intellectuals, empowered by all this support, conduct the deep, focused research required to design the actual welfare solutions. And finally, the everyday citizens take unified action based on these newly researched paradigms.
Breaking down this systemic blueprint clearly, the lecture claims every tier of society has a distinctly different, yet perfectly complementary job to do. With elite women providing the power and the backing, the intellectuals can focus entirely on creating the new welfare paradigms without any distractions. Once that blueprint is perfected, the general public naturally implements these solutions through their everyday activities. It's pitched as a fully integrated, totally unstoppable social engine.
Section 6. The World's Research Institute. The Leap Forward.
The speaker is actually incredibly specific with the timeline for this immense transformation. The year 2012 is designated as the crucial time for preparation and organizing, laying the groundwork and bringing all these different social groups together. Then 2013 is marked as the beginning of the great societal shift, where these new paradigms start flowing outward. And the ultimate goal for the future? The entire world adopts the successful Korean welfare model, turning to the nation for guidance and structural blueprints.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this overarching idea ties everything together. The Korean Peninsula is perfectly suited as a research laboratory and model for the international community. You see, the speaker views Korea's unique geographical setup and its dramatic demographic history not as limitations, but as its true destiny. The severe hardships and rapid growth the country experienced make it the ultimate battle-tested laboratory for the rest of humanity.
We've looked at a pretty sweeping, bold vision today. From reimagining the shores of the East Sea to a global welfare revolution championed by a new era of women. It's a fascinating philosophical blueprint for how a nation transitions from building physical things to building world-changing ideas. So, as global paradigms continue to shift all around us, it leaves us with a really compelling thought to ponder. What role will you play in this proposed new social blueprint? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the paradigms around you.